Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down a couple plays I like on Prizepicks for the NBA slate on Tuesday, January the 17th. Now, we do have a small Tuesday slate tonight, only 4 games, so, going to be kind of a light day for me. I'm not going to be playing too many props on this slate. It is Taco Tuesday, though, so we do have some tacos to take advantage of. There's an NHL taco up right now. Don't know if I'm going to be playing this. I probably will. I usually play all the tacos, but there's an NHL taco up right now. We'll have to definitely see what kind of NBA tacos we get as the day goes on. But I got 2 picks I like, 2 NBA picks I like that I'm going to share in this video, guys. Kind of taking a first look at the board right now when I'm recording this video, around 1 o'clock Eastern time. I know I didn't make any NBA videos over the weekend. Didn't make an NBA video yesterday. I was planning on making an NBA video yesterday, but then taking a look at all the games, seeing all the games started really early in the day. Normally I make my videos around 12 to 1 Eastern, so by the time I would have got the video up, the games would have started 2 hours later. So I feel like it really wasn't worth it to make a video yesterday. But we did make some NFL videos over the weekend. Hopefully you guys tailed those NFL picks I gave out. NFL treated us really well. We hit every NFL pick that we gave out this past weekend for the playoffs. So I'm going to try and start getting more NFL content up on the channel now that the playoffs are here. I know a lot of you guys are going to be betting these playoff games. You're going to be looking for some picks. So stay tuned for those. Usually later in the week, probably closer towards the weekend, you'll see some more NFL content from me. But obviously, want to get back into posting NBA. Going to have some NBA videos up all this week. But we got 2 picks to talk about for this Tuesday slate. Now, before we get started talking through these 2 plays, as always, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to Prizepicks, if you have never checked out Prizepicks before, get signed up over there. Use that promo code NOAH when you do sign up, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. Also, if you guys enjoy these Prizepicks videos that I do post on YouTube and you want more Prizepicks plays from me, I provide those over on Patreon. You can check out all the content I provide on Patreon, provide some DFS content over there, also Prizepicks plays, and we have a Discord chat that you can join. That's all available for Patreon members. Check that out, link down below in the description if you are interested. But let's talk through the 2 picks I like for Tuesday. We got 2 fantasy score props I like for today. You guys know that I love to target these fantasy score props, are usually my favorite props to target. The first fantasy score prop I like for today is going to be Scotty Barnes fantasy score. Scotty Barnes fantasy score sitting at 31.5. And I do like the over here. Scotty Barnes has been playing really, really well as of late. As you can see, he has cleared this line pretty easily in 4 out of his last 5 games. Had a little bit of a down game against Charlotte, only put up 26.5 fantasy points. I don't want to look too much into the last 5 games. Obviously, it's really good to see Scotty Barnes playing well right now. But I think the reason I really like this prop, for one, we know that Scotty Barnes is going to play big minutes on a nightly basis, and we know pretty much all the Raptors starters are going to play big minutes. Nick Nurse doesn't really have a ton of confidence in many guys off his bench. A lot of the guys off his bench, he doesn't really play many minutes. You look at the starters, these guys, all 5 starters, Siakam, Van Vliet, Barnes, Trent, OG, they're playing 35, 36 minutes every night. Some of them, like Siakam, will play closer to 40 minutes. Over this 5-game stretch where Scotty Barnes has played really well, his minutes have been massive. Now, last night against the Knicks did go to overtime, so he played 45 minutes, but he still had played 38 or 39 minutes in regulation. Played 36.5 minutes against Atlanta, played 34 against Charlotte. The game before that against Charlotte, he only played 30, so that was a little bit down from him. He normally plays about 34, 35 minutes. Against the Portland, he only played 29 minutes, but was still super productive in that game. So we can expect probably 34, 35 minutes from Scotty Barnes here. This should be a competitive game against the Bucks. Right now, this game has a 4.5-point spread. Milwaukee is favored in this game. Both these teams are on a back-to-back. We'll have to pay attention to the injury report for these teams. Anytime teams are on a back-to-back, there's a chance that some guys get rested or something. But for now, I think we can expect everyone to play. And if Scotty Barnes is playing 34, 35 minutes, he's averaged a fantasy point per minute this season. He's one of these guys that can do everything when he's on the floor. He can score, he can rebound, he can get assists, he can get defensive stats as well. I like targeting guys on Prizepicks for fantasy score that can get defensive stats because steals and blocks, they're worth 3 points each. And we've seen Scotty Barnes last game against the Knicks, 2 blocks, 1 steal. Against Atlanta, 3 steals, 1 block. He can have those games where he gets 2 or 3 steals, 2 or 3 blocks, and those add up really quickly for fantasy score. So if Scotty Barnes is playing 34, 35 minutes, I expect him to average around a fantasy point per minute. I think this line should be 33.5, 34.5. I know the matchup against the Bucks is a little bit tougher, but the minutes are going to be massive for Scotty Barnes. The permanent production's always been pretty solid for him. I know the matchup's not the best, but I think this line kind of already factors that in. If this was a matchup against like Charlotte or something or Atlanta, I think Barnes' projection would be like 35.5, 36.5. But because they're facing the Bucks, the lines come down a little bit because the Bucks are kind of a good defensive team. They're a tough matchup. But I still think 31.5 fantasy score is a line that Scotty Barnes can easily hit when he plays his normal 34, 35 minutes. And I did want to look at his game log. So he's played, or this season, Scotty Barnes has averaged 34 minutes per game. He's played 34 plus minutes in 23 games this season, and he's gone over this line in 18 out of 23 games. So that's another plus. You see Scotty Barnes, when he gets the minutes, and more times than not, he's going to have more than 31.5 fantasy score. So that is the first pick that I do like for today. And then the second pick I like to pair with that, we're going to go back to a guy that, let us down last time, but I feel like this line just looks too low. Maybe I'm making a mistake here, but Kyrie Irving, 45.5 fantasy score. Give me the over once again here against the Spurs. And look, the last two games without Kevin Durant have not been that great for Kyrie Irving. Against Boston, he only had 39.4 fantasy points. Against OKC, he really struggled, had 34.2 fantasy points. But those were tougher matchups. I mean, Boston's a really good defensive team. Marcus Smart's a good defender. They play just good team defense in general. And then against OKC, he had to deal with Lou Dort. Lou Dort's a good defender. I don't think, one-on-one matchups matter too much for Kyrie Irving, but it's good to see him finally get a good matchup here against the Spurs. And this is probably one of the better matchups that, Kyrie Irving could really ask for. The Spurs this season have been one of the worst defensive teams in the league, if not the worst defensive team in the league. They're dead last in defensive rating, so their team defense is terrible. They play at the 8th fastest pace in the league, so they always are a team you like to target because they don't play much defense. They play really fast. And then if you look at how they have defended the point guard position, they're giving up a ton of fantasy points to point guards this year. On the season, San Antonio giving up the 4th most fantasy points per game to point guards. Over their last 30 games, they're giving up the 3rd most fantasy points to point guards. Over their last 15 games, they're giving up the most fantasy points to point guards. And then over their last 7 games, they're giving up the 7th most fantasy points to point guards. So any sample you look at recently and for the full season, San Antonio has been a great matchup for point guards. And obviously, Kyrie Irving, we can expect him to have a really big role here without Kevin Durant. You look at his numbers this season without Kevin Durant, he's got a 34.9% usage rate, dominating the usage. 1.23 fantasy points per minute is what he averages. On the season, he averages, I believe, about 1.1 fantasy points per minute, so he does see a nice bump in his fantasy point per minute production. His usage rate goes up over 5%, going up to nearly 35%. The offense is going to run through Kyrie. He's going to be the guy taking a lot of the shots, doing a lot of the heavy lifting on offense. And we know Kyrie's one of these guys that can also get steals and blocks. He's also a guy that doesn't turn the ball over too much. Like, if you look at his props kind of across the board, so his PRA is currently setting at 40.5. You look at his PRA, he's gone under this in 5 straight games. You look at this game against Chicago, though, he only had 37 PRA in that game. But for fantasy, you look at his fantasy score, he had, 51.8 fantasy score. And if you pull up his game log and you're kind of, questioning how did he have so many fantasy points? Well, in that game, he had, 2 steals, he had 1 block, he had 8 assists. And those assists, they're 1.5 points each. So, 8 assists, that's 12 fantasy points. 2 steals and a block, that's 9 fantasy points. So the fantasy points can add up quickly for a guy like Kyrie Irving who can get, can get assists, can get steals and blocks. 45.5 fantasy points. Feel like this line could definitely be a little bit higher in this matchup. I know the recent 2 games without Kevin Durant have not been great, and I guess if Kyrie Irving comes up short again, then maybe we'll just have to write him off. But I try not to bet too much with my emotions. I try not to look too much into recent games. You just kind of have to look at the projection for today and what you think this projection should be. I feel like in this matchup, man, this projection for Kyrie should be like closer to 50. And maybe Kyrie has another bad game, but this just feels like one of those spots where Kyrie should be able to produce at a really high rate, should have a ton of success in this matchup, just because of how bad San Antonio has been defensively this year. And I know these teams have already played once this season. They played pretty recently. Kyrie did not even play his full minutes. It was a game that Brooklyn blew them out. This was also a game with Kevin Durant. But last time they played San Antonio with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving put up 41.6 fantasy points in only 28 minutes. So matchup's really good. If he plays his normal 36, 37, 38 minutes without Kevin Durant here, I like his chances of going over 45.5 fantasy score. I feel like this could finally... This finally feels like the breakout game for Kyrie Irving. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe he'll have another down game. But this feels like the spot where Kyrie Irving should break out here. So these are the 2 picks I like for today's NBA slate, guys. Kind of 2 props I like at first look. I will have more plays for today shared over on Patreon. As always, if you guys do want more prospects plays from me, check out the Patreon, linked down below in the description. But I wish you guys the best of luck on this Tuesday slate. Hopefully we can all make some money tonight, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.